But it's also true that in one's career, in one's life, there are periods where one's more focused. So we had 3 children. We were really focused on child rearing. and now they've left home. And so suddenly, something that was deep disciplinary child rearing, now suddenly we're able to engage in other pursuits that are in a different context.
So I heard you both kind of refer to something that's interesting to me as someone who was in the classroom as a teacher and as a teacher educator. You dig deep early, you major in whatever, and then maybe later on, if you rise...
And you weed people out.
Right, you weed people out, and if you are lucky, if you manage to sheer dumb luck, plus hard work, plus all the other factors at play, you rise to a position where you can be interdisciplinary, then you are. You're at a senior level position in some firm or so forth, or at an institution like this. So now it's almost like a lot of people are asking students at a younger age to develop those collaborative skills and work with others. Whether it's on a robotics team where, the teacher designates different roles and you have some experience kind of, cross-connecting in a way that's probably different than the way you and I went to school. So what do you think? Is there a right age to have a lot of experience in that kind of thing or not?
Because that connects with the thing that Paul has been talking about a little bit, which is how you cross-couple informal and formal education, but also how you cross-couple lifelong learning also with periods in your life when you go to university or you go to high school or something. And so obviously part of the problem is we've set up formal education institutions, informal education institutions, lifelong learning institutions, and yet we're all one whole human being. and I think so part of the challenge is, and maybe Paul will talk about one of the initiatives he's leading at the moment, is how, and this gets into the ways of learning, the ways of knowing, how you couple the individual to that whole landscape. You want to talk about?
Sure. So we have a couple of names for it. One is deep personalization, and part of it stems from experience with museums, although it doesn't have to be limited to museums. And that's where you take an object. For example, an object in museums. If it's an art museum, you've got a sculpture or painting, for example. And you can, the point there is that the visitor that comes in may have a complicated profile. They may like art, they may like sculpture, but they may not like a particular genre of art. They also may be taking biology classes at high school. So the question is, can we personalize the museum visit, whether an art museum or science museum or just any museum or any object for that matter? Can we personalize it and tailor it so that people, the visitor or the experiencer can say, you know what I'd like today? I'd like to learn more about science. So they just start walking around and their cell phone, say, buzzes when something that they're interested in, something that's personal to them, is within reach or in proximity. And so that's sort of the deep personalization model, I suppose. And we have started with, we have Jim Love created this iconic red jack, which is a large sculpture, contemporary sculpture, that's in the ATEC courtyard. We started with that, and students were told, hey, you're all different people, why don't you each choose your perspective? We'll create a web page and link that through electronics, through a smartphone, so that when somebody comes up to the sculpture, they can get these different perspectives based on what they're interested in.
So that gets into a sort of a broader thing of entryways into how someone gets more experience, more expertise, connects with things they don't know how to do. And so in Paul's project at the moment, clearly it's the idea is this object-based entryway, which of course in design is a very well-established methodology, since some fraction of design is involved in that kind of process. But clearly for other people it might be problem-based rather than object-based, right? And so within education there's a lot of interest of how you you maybe teach people where they understand what they're learning and its connection to a problem they're interested in. So that's a different entryway into the system. And the problem is most of our education is discipline-based entryway, right? So it immediately narrows to say, okay, this is the biology class, we're going to talk about biology. Whereas if you're object-based, then indeed it may be biology, it may be chemistry, it may be sociology, it may be ethnography, it may be mathematics. And so then you get different entryways into what other people know that you don't know, whether it's skills or collaboration, talents, or specific.
So I'm trying to understand. So with the red sculpture, I think I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the goal? So what exactly will somebody get from it?
So that's a great question. What's the goal? Well, the first goal is to have a variety of different perspectives on the object. I'll give you an example. It's part of the sculpture, the paint is peeling off. How does that happen? Well, you might say it has to do with cold temperature, hot temperature, UV light, and so forth. And so that's kind of a chemistry physics question, right? And an answer to that will involve chemistry and physics knowledge. Likewise, you might want to know the history of the artist. What did Jim Love do for a living, and what other things did he create? Or you might want to know about the color red, which is something you would talk about in different ways in physics versus art. And so all these are different perspectives, and so the goal is to allow people, when they're near the sculpture, to gain some knowledge that they otherwise wouldn't know, but they may be interested in. Or their teacher may have said, hey, you know what, wander around campus. After the teacher has them in a room for what, 3 hours every week? What are they going to do the rest of the time? Well, they could be wandering around exploring.